Polyatomic ions are molecules that have lost or gained electrons. Remember that molecules have two or more atoms. The prefix poly means more than one. The majority of polyatomic ions that we will use in this course are anions, or ions with a negative charge. Polyatomic ions are part of the vocabulary of chemistry, and you must memorize the formula, charge, and name of the polyatomic ions listed in your textbook. These polyatomic ions are found in table 3.3. The only two polyatomic cations are listed at the beginning, hydronium and ammonium. You do not need to include the word ion in the name of a polyatomic ion. You will have a memorization quiz on these ions. If you are given the name of a polyatomic ion, such as sulfite, you must be able to write capital S, capital O, subscript 3, superscript -2 or 2 negative. It is really important that you pay attention to the capital letters and lowercase letters, the order of the symbols in the formulas, the subscripts, and the charges. For example, a sulfite ion has 1 sulfur atom, 3 oxygen atoms, and 2 extra electrons, as indicated by the -2 charge. Likewise, if you were given the formula and charge of a polyatomic ion, such as capital N, capital O, subscript 3, superscript negative, you should be able to correctly name it as nitrate. Spelling counts. There's a difference between nitrate, nitrite, and nitride. The names of the polyatomic ions were assigned before a systematic nomenclature system for chemistry was established. Thus, the name of polyatomic ions do not follow rules, which is why you need to memorize them. However, there are certain trends. For example, most of these ions that have oxygen end in the suffix -ite or -ate. The -ate anion has 1 more oxygen than the -ite anion, but the same charge. For example, nitrate has 3 oxygen atoms, while nitrite has 2 oxygen atoms. Both anions have a charge of -1. Sulfate has 4 oxygen atoms, while sulfite has 3 oxygen atoms, and both anions have a charge of -2. Adding a hydrogen to an anion makes the overall charge less negative by 1. For example, carbonate, capital C, capital O, subscript 3, charge -2. And if we add a hydrogen to that to form bicarbonate or hydrogen carbonate, capital H, capital C, capital O, subscript 3, the charge is -1. If a polyatomic ion has 2 names like bicarbonate does, since it's also known as hydrogen carbonate, you must know both names. The best way to study polyatomic ions is to create flashcards. Carry these cards with you and study them as much as you can. Once you have an ion name, formula, and charge memorized, you can place it in a separate pile that you don't study as much. There is a practice quiz in Canvas on the names, formulas, and charges of the polyatomic ions, as well as a link to a Quizlet created by a former student that might be helpful for you.